Rain begins before you finish your first coffee. The window turns grey. The room becomes quieter. The task you planned suddenly feels heavier than it did 10 minutes ago. Nothing has changed on your desk. Nothing is physically stopping you. Yet your body seems to vote for the blanket. Rain is not casting a chemical spell over you. It is changing several signals at once: light, temperature, sound, movement, and the number of useful things the outside world appears to offer. Your brain reads that bundle before you consciously decide how energetic to feel. That is the first clue. Your level of alertness is not produced by motivation alone. It is partly a prediction. Your nervous system is constantly estimating whether this is a good moment to spend energy, explore, travel, compete, or remain where you are. On a clear morning, the world advertises opportunity. Light enters your eyes. Distant objects are visible. Paths look usable. Other people are moving. The environment seems open. During steady rain, those signals contract. The sky darkens. The horizon disappears. Water gathers on the ground. Familiar routes become slower, colder, and less predictable. Even inside a heated room, your senses are receiving a version of the same old message. Outside is offering less. The most immediate part of that message is light. Your eyes do more than build pictures. Specialized cells in the retina also measure environmental brightness and send that information to brain systems involved in timing, alertness, and sleep. They help your body estimate not only what you can see, but what part of the day it seems to be. Bright light generally supports wakefulness. Dimmer conditions can remove part of that alerting pressure. This does not mean that every cloud automatically releases melatonin and puts you to sleep. Human studies are more complicated than that. Melatonin is normally low during the day, and experiments have not always found the same alerting effect from daytime light. But controlled research has shown that brighter daytime exposure can reduce subjective sleepiness and improve vigilance, especially when people are already carrying sleep loss. Other experiments have found that light can influence alertness and body temperature through pathways that are not explained by melatonin alone. In plain English, brightness tells your body that the active part of the day is still happening. Rain can weaken that signal. The difference is larger than it looks on a weather app. Outdoor daylight, even under clouds, is usually far brighter than ordinary indoor lighting, but rain changes behavior as well as illumination. Curtains stay closed, you spend less time near the door. The walk to lunch becomes a delivery. The short trip outside disappears. The sky dims, then your choices dim it further. This creates a loop. Less light can make you feel less alert. Feeling less alert makes you less likely to seek light or movement. Remaining still in a darker room confirms the body's estimate that the day has entered a lower output phase. That loop feels modern, but the inputs are ancient. Picture rain reaching a small group without sealed buildings, dry shoes, paved roads, or a reliable forecast. The archaeological record cannot tell you exactly how that rain felt. It cannot reveal whether someone became peaceful, irritated, or sleepy. But the physical trade-off is clear. Movement in wet conditions can become more expensive. Clothing and hair hold water. Ground loses traction. Streams rise. Tracks wash away. Visibility shrinks. Wind increases heat loss from wet skin. A journey that was useful in dry weather can become slower and riskier without becoming more rewarding. Under those conditions, reduced movement is not laziness. It is cost control. An organism that spends energy when the likely return is low can lose heat, waste calories, become injured, or travel too far from shelter. Waiting can be the intelligent option, especially when the weather may change the value of movement within hours. This is an enduring trade-off, not a flaw left behind by evolution. Your body still needs systems that adjust effort to conditions. A person who ignores heat, cold, darkness, slippery ground, and poor visibility is not more motivated. That person is less responsive to reality. The problem is that your nervous system does not receive a complete report. It receives cues. It cannot see the waterproof roof above you as an evolutionary argument. It cannot read your calendar and understand that the deadline remains real, even though the horizon is gray. It registers dimness, enclosure, repetitive sound, reduced social movement, and the absence of visible opportunity. Then it changes the price of effort. A task does not become impossible. It simply feels more expensive to begin. That distinction matters. The sensation is often interpreted as a statement about character. You assume you are undisciplined. You assume the weather has exposed your true level of ambition. But the heaviness may be less like a verdict and more like an estimate. Your brain is predicting that action will require more energy and produce less reward. That prediction can be wrong in a modern room, but it is not random. Daily movement studies reveal part of this pattern. In one year-long study, Australian adults wore activity trackers while researchers matched their minute-by-minute behavior with local temperature, rainfall, wind, sunshine, and cloud cover. Across more than 90,000 valid days, harsher weather conditions were associated with shifts away from some forms of physical activity. Rainfall was linked to a small reduction in moderate to vigorous movement. Sunshine was linked to less sedentary time. The effects were not enormous, and they did not prove that rain directly changed anyone's biology. Wet roads, cancelled plans, clothing, transport, work routines, and personal preferences could all contribute. That limitation is important. The evidence does not support a simple claim that rain presses a universal sleep button. Weather changes the opportunities around you, and your behavior responds to those opportunities. Biology and environment are mixed together. That is exactly how an adaptive system should work. Your body does not need to know whether reduced opportunity comes from hormones, slippery ground, a cancelled walk, or a room that suddenly feels closed. It only needs to notice that the expected payoff from movement has fallen. Rain also changes the information landscape. On a clear day, separate sounds arrive from separate places. Footsteps, birds, distant voices, traffic, leaves, and movement each carry direction. Steady rain covers many of those smaller signals with one continuous layer. For some people, that is calming. Fewer sudden noises reach the foreground. The room feels protected. The world beyond the glass becomes less demanding. For others, the same rain creates restlessness. Plans are interrupted. Humidity feels oppressive. Thunder keeps the threat system active. Dark weather can deepen an already low mood. The response depends on what the rain means to your body. A warm shower of rain after intense heat may feel energizing. A storm after several nights of poor sleep may expose exhaustion that bright light and obligations had been masking. A person raised in a rainy climate may barely react. Someone whose home has flooded may hear danger in the first drops. There is no single rain personality hidden inside the species. There is only a system combining present conditions with memory, expectation, sleep debt, temperature, and available choices. Still, one ancient pattern remains visible. When the environment narrows, behavior often narrows with it. Shelter becomes more attractive. Group proximity becomes more valuable. Long-range movement loses appeal. Attention shifts from distant opportunities to immediate comfort, warmth, food, repair, conversation, and waiting. Ancient rain would not have meant doing nothing. Hands could maintain tools, process food, tend fire, care for children, exchange information, and repair shelter. Lower travel did not equal total inactivity. That distinction explains why modern rainy day heaviness can feel strangely selective. You may resist opening a complicated spreadsheet, then spend an hour organizing a drawer. You may avoid the gym, then cook something slowly. You may postpone a difficult call, yet become absorbed in a familiar book. Your body is not always asking for sleep. Sometimes it is asking for a smaller world. Rain reduces the perceived radius of useful action. Activities that are warm, local, predictable, and easy to finish become more appealing. Tasks that require uncertain effort, social exposure, travel, or delayed reward become harder to initiate. Modern work often demands the opposite response. The darker the day becomes, the more you may need to generate alertness without help from the environment. The outside world says wait. The calendar says perform. Your body lowers the expected return on effort while your screen presents the same targets, messages, and deadlines as yesterday. That conflict is the mismatch, not because the rainy response is obsolete, but because the physical cues and the actual demands no longer agree. The useful response is not to shame yourself until the signal disappears. Shame adds another cost to a system already estimating that action is expensive. Change one of the inputs instead. When safe conditions allow, Take a 10-minute walk in the brightest covered outdoor space within 30 minutes of noticing the rainy day slump. A balcony, covered path, open doorway, or sheltered street can provide far more light than the center of a room, while movement gives your brain fresh evidence that the active part of the day has not ended. 10 minutes will not transform every mood. It will not fix sleep deprivation, depression, illness, or a genuinely dangerous storm. It simply updates the estimate using the two signals rain often removes first, brightness and movement. Then return to the same desk. The window may still be grey. The rain may still be tapping the glass. The task may not become pleasant. But the heaviness no longer has to mean that something is wrong with you. Your body is not surrendering to the weather. It is reading an old forecast.